I was supposed to do probably the hardest dive I had ever done to date. This was a whole nother level of fear for me. I stood there shaking for 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. Finally at 45 minutes, I'm just frozen. Eric has run out of patience. And he says, Adam, are you gonna do this dive? And I thought, ever? Yes, one day I would love to do this dive. And I told Eric that. He said, great, what are you waiting for? I realized I had the relationship between confidence and action backward. I was waiting until I felt confident to take the leap. But I needed to take the leap in order to gain confidence. And that's literally true in diving, right? But I think it's a great metaphor for risk-taking in life. If you look at tests of concentration over a 3-decade period, adults and children have not gotten worse. They're just as good. In some cases, they're even better. It turns out it's not our ability to pay attention that's suffering. It's our motivation. We're used to looking for the next shiny object. And the good news is that people are fully capable of focusing for extended periods of time if you sustain their interest. And frankly, that explains something that's mystified me for a long time, which is, why are these teenagers who supposedly can't pay attention to anything binging 8 hours of a show on Netflix? That requires sustained attention. Why are they sitting playing video games for 14 hours at a time? That requires sustained attention. And I think what's distinctive about video games and great shows is they are motivating. They spark our interest, they maintain our interest, and I think we need to get better at that. We actually overestimate polarization. There's a pretty big gap between the assumptions we make about people who hold different views from us and the actual views they hold. It's called the perception gap, actually, in psychology. And very frequently what you'll find is, nobody is defined by their worst view or their most hateful belief. And so it's pretty likely that, even if you have an uncle that you think is just way out there, that you can find some common ground. We normally see intelligence as the ability to think and learn. And that was true in a stable world. We don't live in a stable world anymore. We live in a rapidly changing, turbulent world. And in a dynamic environment, intelligence is not just your ability to think and learn, it's your capacity to rethink and unlearn. Because the assumptions that you held yesterday may not be true today. There's a cluster of personality traits that are called the dark triad. They are narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. And this is the exact opposite of what we should be looking for in leadership. I would love to see that tide turn in 2026. I would love for boards of directors when it comes to choosing CEOs, voters when it comes to electing politicians, to put their foot down and say, character matters as much as competence and charisma. And if you are not willing to put the best interests of the collective above yourself, you are unfit to lead.